10 Philippine cities flooded with Americans. Why did they leave America to move there? Now, that is a really, really good question. And so you guys linked this video over to me a lot and said, hey man, you know, for whenever you move to the Philippines, maybe you can get some informative information from here. So just check it out. Informative information. You like that? All right, regardless, I'm excited for this. Let's check this out together, please. Let's go.
Did you know? There's a place in Asia where tens of thousands of Americans are rushing to live. Not Japan, not Thailand, but the Philippines. They're not just visiting. They're staying, they're buying homes, opening cafes, raising dogs, marrying locals,
dogs.
and they don't want to go back to the U.S. anymore. So which cities in the Philippines are most flooded with Americans? And why are these places more attractive than Florida, Texas, or California? Let's discover the 10 cities Americans are choosing as their second home in 2025. With real data, real stories, nothing made up. 1. Angeles City, America's legacy still lives on. Right in the heart of Luzon, just over an hour from Manila, there's a city where you'll hear English on the streets more than Tagalog, where signs like Texas BBQ or Veterans Cafe are nothing unusual. This is Angeles.
I mean, to be fair, you're also going to see that very commonly even in Manila. Like when I was in Manila, I hear people speaking English all the time, or Taglish, right? We hear Tagalog and English at the same time, which is funny because even in Brazil, for me, like sometimes you would hear a little bit of English, sometimes mixed with Portuguese, but it doesn't happen as often. But hey, of course, it's common there. The English is like an incredible language they use, and obviously they use it very well. I mean, let's be real.
City, the unofficial capital of Americans in the Philippines. This city used to host the Clark Air Base, the biggest U.S. Air Force base outside America during the war. But when the U.S. military pulled out, something unexpected happened. Many soldiers didn't leave. They stayed. They married locals, opened eateries, built families, built homes, and turned Angeles into not just a destination, but the beginning of a new life.
Yeah,
today,
that's beautiful.
Thousands of Americans live here, not as tourists, but as long-term residents, retirees, veterans, engineers, even English teachers. The Fields Avenue area is famous for being the hangout spot of longtime Americans, with U.S.-style bars, veterans clubs, and diners serving baked apple pie like in Georgia. If you walk around at
like
night,
in Georgia,
you might hear someone shout, "Hey, Mike," and 3 heads will turn, because that name is just that common in the community here. Why do they choose Angeles? There are 4 very clear reasons. A sense of familiarity. This place used to be part of America, so they don't have to start from scratch. Extremely low cost of living. Only around 30% of states like Florida, according to 2024 data from Expedia. Existing community. You're not alone. There's a whole group of Americans helping each other from visas to finding doctors, renting homes. Strategic location. Close to Manila, close to the international airport, and near famous tourist spots.
And some of the photos in here aren't right. Like it isn't like the same thing or aren't the Philippines, but it's obviously just for show. But the reason I really paused was to explain that, by the way, I'm in Florida too. And I can say confidently that the Philippines is like very similar in a way with kind of humidity and heat. Like when I was there, it felt really similar to Florida. And don't get me wrong, obviously the rain was a little bit stronger when I was there. I think it did rain when I was there in the Philippines, but in Florida, it rains a lot too. So that's the cool part, right? It's like it can be very similar for a lot of people who are used to Florida. And you go to the Philippines, obviously they would go there for a majority of the time, either cost of living is way lower. But I think, in my opinion, people who usually move to the Philippines, not only is it just for the cost, it is most likely, most definitely because of the people themselves. Because usually in America, this is not to take away from, you know, everything else in America, but this is just to kind of say that there is a lot of people always angry. That's just how it is, right? You come to America, I guarantee you, any Filipino comes to America, they will be shocked, culturally shocked, at how many rude people there are. It's crazy, man. It feels like every day, everybody got a bad day. Like, you know what I mean? We're all human. This isn't to say the Filipinos are perfect. I mean, don't get me wrong, man. They are the kindest people, but I'm sure they have bad days. You know what I mean? But it's the way that they look at it, right? It's the whole perspective shift that Filipinos have. But in America, it's almost like they don't even have a perspective shift. These people just be so angry, and they take it out on you. You're just a stranger. Like, what? What did I do? That's just how it is. Like, it's so casual. It happens so often. At your local Walmart, you see just the most rudest thing happen, and it's just supposed to be normal. Like, I don't know why that's supposed to be normal, but it is just normal, by the way. It genuinely is, which is crazy, but that is most likely why they moved to the Philippines. I'm letting you know right now.
Still being peaceful. An American from New York, now running a motorcycle repair shop in Balibago,
Wow.
once shared with Sunstar Pampanga in 2024. Here I live like a king on my retirement pension. I don't worry about hospitals,
Yeah, see, that's the
housing,
thing, too.
or insurance. Like in the U.S., everything is just easier. Angeles City is no longer where America bases its troops, but it's where Americans place their hearts. A city that carries a strange mix of wartime memories
And I gotta go
and
there,
a
man.
piece of life after. Like someone once said, it's like America, but 70% cheaper and no winter.
Hey,
2.
no winter. What's wrong with
Cebu
winter?
City.
I like winter.
The future in the making. If Angeles is tied to the past of Americans in the Philippines, then Cebu City is where many Americans are placing their bet for the future. With over 964,000 people,
Wow.
Cebu is not only the economic capital of Central Philippines, but also the top destination for Americans
Yeah.
who want a fresh start. It's not as chaotic as Manila, not as rural as the small islands, but just the right mix of modern and free. There's something special here. Cebu attracts not just retirees, but also entrepreneurs, freelancers, software engineers, online teachers, crypto investors, and Americans who bring their entire work life inside a laptop backpack.
Hey, there
They
you go.
come and they stay, not to escape, but to live differently. You'll easily spot them at IT Park, the international hub of Cebu. They grab coffee, hold startup huddles,
Hey,
work out, and by evening, throw
coffee.
rooftop BBQs on brand new condo buildings. Why is Cebu becoming more and more attractive? Modern infrastructure, from
Yeah.
international standard hospitals to luxury condos.
Hey, let's look at
with
BGC.
pools and gyms.
guarantee that's one of them.
High-speed internet and a remote work-friendly environment. Something not every city in Southeast Asia can offer. Mactan Cebu International Airport connects directly to Korea, Japan, Singapore, and even the US via fast transfers. A friendly expat community with many lifestyle options, from beachside living to city center convenience.
Yeah.
A 35-year-old tech engineer who used to work in Seattle, now a product manager at a Cebu startup, shared.
Yeah.
I used to think I'd retire early to live by the beach, but then I found Cebu and realized I can work and live slow right now, not when I'm 60. Beyond its modern life, Cebu has an old soul, 2 centuries old churches, vibrant traditional festivals, and street markets where you can buy golden mangoes for the price of one American coffee.
Yo,
It's the perfect blend of tech and tradition, of speed and ease, something many Americans feel they've lost back home. Cebu is not just a place to live, it's a place to rebuild life. It offers the chance to live smarter, slower, and happier. Not a dream, but a real choice that more and more Americans are making. 3. Dumaguete, a small paradise for those who've lost something. No glamour, no
Dumaguete.
massive malls, no big international airport. And yet Dumaguete is where many Americans decide to stay forever, after just one visit to check it out.
it's because they
Some
probably
kid-
want to let go of the whole modernization thing. And that's a really common thing I found a lot in a lot of different people. Some people don't want to be around modernization anymore. They just kind of want to be around straight up island, and that's it. Like nothing else. They don't want the crazy airports. They don't want the noise. And then there's some people who love the noise, right? Like I don't mind the noise. For me, I could live in BGC and hear the cars, or for example, like New York City. But then again, I would never personally live in New York City. That is just my preference, and the preference being because I don't like the people's attitude. I'm not a fan of the the smell in New York City. And keep in mind, New York City was amazing. I loved every bit of my vacation there. But would I prefer BGC or New York City? BGC every day, like no matter what, every day of the week. What's going on in New York City, especially right now? No, thank you. But I'll tell you right now, man, BGC was incredible. When I went and I was there for like a few weeks, man, I'm not going to lie, it was incredible. It was beautiful. It was comforting. Even the noise was just so hospitable. How can the noise be hospitable? That's just what happens in the Philippines. Like, you think that noisiness could be like rude most of the time? Noisiness was hospitable in BGC, bro. Like, the way that people were, it just was a different life, man. I'm telling you, it was incredible, man. It really was.
Came for a dive trip to Apple Island. Some stopped by out of curiosity about Silliman University, a school founded by Americans more than a century ago. And then, all of them were surprised by something very simple. I was no longer being rushed to live fast. Dumaguete,
That's the big thing,
with
too.
just over 130,000 people, is one of the smallest cities on this list, but that's exactly what makes it so charming. Warm, friendly, easy to love, easy to live in. Here, you don't need a car. You can walk to the market, buy some fresh fish from a local, and head back to cook lunch in a rented home that costs as much as a New York Starbucks meal. Why is Dumaguete special to Americans? Extremely low cost of living.
There
A
you go.
retired American can live comfortably on less than 1,000 USD per month. A tight-knit expat community. Not just neighbors, but friends who throw small festivals, take Visaya classes together, even do charity work. A city of learning. Thanks to Silliman, the place has a gentle academic and cultural rhythm. Safe streets, kind people. Locals here are truly polite and patient, especially toward foreigners. A 68-year-old American widower once shared on GMA News. I came here just planning to stay a month to rest.
And then
But
ended
the
up
first time
staying,
I
yeah.
stepped out of a tricycle, a little kid smiled at me, and I realized there are places where you don't need to be rich to feel loved. Dumaguete doesn't sparkle,
Yeah.
but it has what modern America seems to be losing time. Peace and friendly nods from strangers on the street. That's why, per capita, this is one of the highest density American expat communities in the Philippines. You won't
Incredibly
find
said.
Dumaguete in flashy travel brochures, but those who live here will tell you. This isn't a destination. This is a place to begin again. 4. Olongapo, where Americans stay for love, not orders. If you ask an older American who once served in the Navy, where were you stationed in Asia? Chances are the answer will be Subic. But here's the thing. Not everyone who came here ended up leaving. Olongapo City, nestled on the coastline of Zambales province, is one of the last living legacies of the American military presence in the Philippines. It used to host Subic Bay Naval Base, the largest U.S. Navy base outside of America for decades. When the base shut down in 1992, many American servicemen didn't go home. They had fallen in love, not just with the scenery, but with the people, the community, and the
Yeah.
deep personal bonds they had built.
And what's incredible is I met someone like that, by the way. He was working as a army, I don't know what exactly it was, but he was in the army or the military, and he was stationed in Asia, and he went to the Philippines, and he said he cried when he had to leave. And it was on my girlfriend's side of the family. Or the dad's side of the family from my girlfriend's side. And she basically was telling me that he loves the Philippines. I went up to him and he told me the story about it. And he was explaining that he cried when he left, man. And he said he wants to go back. And he's already looking at houses that he wants to go back to in the Philippines. He was explaining why he loved it. Guess why? Not just the cost of living. You know, that might be the obvious one that everyone always goes to. But he was saying that the people and everything, he felt like he was at peace, at home. And you know, that was so beautiful hearing him say that because of everything that I've seen and everything that I've experienced myself as well. And he wouldn't stop talking about it. And it was so wholesome to see that glitter in someone's eyes of like, this place is my home. This place is where I'm at peace. And like, he was so thankful and grateful. You could see it, and he can't wait to go back. And he is, obviously. But it's amazing to have that conversation because it's so common now.
They started families, bought land, raised children, and turned once uniform streets into multicultural neighborhoods where American and Filipino flags sometimes hang side by side, not for politics, but for love. Today, Olongapo is no longer a military town. It has been reborn into a port city for tourism, commerce, and industry, with Subic Bay Freeport Zone as a hub of dynamic growth, and still English echoes around every street corner. Why do Americans keep choosing to live in Olongapo? That old familiar feeling. This used to be home, and for many, it still is. A strong
better version
community of veterans
for some of them.
with support groups, gatherings, and people helping each other through post-service life. Convenient living, close to the beach, near the forest, easy lifestyle without distress. Affordable cost of living, cheaper than Manila, but more comfortable than smaller provincial towns. A former Navy sailor, now living with his Filipino wife and 2 kids in Subic Heights, shared with the Philippine Daily Inquirer. Here, no one looks at me like a foreigner. They call me Tito John.
Aww.
Uncle John, I'm not just an expat. I'm part of this neighborhood. Olongapo is not a place where Americans dominate. It's a place where they blend in. A city
That's
where
so
American
wholesome,
and
dude.
Filipino cultures don't clash. They interweave and support each other. Many retired Americans say they came here for the history, but they stayed for the sense of belonging. In a place that was once a military base, now you see mixed-race children playing soccer on the streets, calling out daddy. In broken English, it's clear that the
soccer in
war
the
is
street.
over, but the connection lives on. 5. Davao, where safety is a way of life. In the minds of many Americans, the island of Mindanao used to be a place to avoid Western media.
And I've heard about
Once
Mindanao.
linked it with danger, unrest, and loud red security warnings. But right here, there's a city that silences all those assumptions. That city is Davao. With nearly 1.8 million people, Davao is one of the largest urban areas in the country. And what draws Americans here isn't the beach, nor the nightlife. It's the genuine feeling of safety, something they sometimes can't even find back in their own country.
Yeah.
Davao is known for its efficient city management, a disciplined yet flexible way of life. People follow the law, streets are clean, traffic is orderly, and most notably, police don't carry long guns, but still maintain full control. This place doesn't promise a tropical fantasy, but it offers a kind of peace many thought they had lost. An African-American former nurse from Atlanta, now living in Latina, once shared during an expat meetup. I was mugged 3 times working night shifts back in the US. Since moving to Davao, I've never had to look over my shoulder while walking for
Yeah,
a
that's
woman
just-
living alone.
Aw,
That's
dude.
priceless. Why do Americans choose Davao? Top-tier security, recognized even by international organizations. Strong local governance, no corruption, transparent public service, efficient systems,
Hey, man.
stable cost of living, spacious homes, and a market untouched by Cebu or Manila price surges. Diverse living environments with mountains, rivers, beaches, quiet villages, and modern hubs. Davao doesn't have the buzzing streets of Makati, but it does have cafes where you can sip espresso and
Hey.
chat philosophy with a priest.
Hey, some
It has
espresso.
neighborhoods where Americans and Filipinos plant trees together, cook meals side by side, and build communities
so
without
beautiful.
fences.
Just think about
The
that.
American expat community in Davao tends to be quiet but deeply connected. They don't throw loud parties. Instead, they gather to read books, support charities, or share tips on how to ease the SRRV process for newcomers.
Oh.
Maybe Davao isn't for everyone, but for those who've been hurt before, who seek refuge in a modern world, this place is both an escape and a new beginning.
Yeah.
Davao doesn't greet you with fireworks, but with a soft breeze, a good morning from the gatekeeper, and the feeling that you're finally free to live without fear.
Good afternoon, po.
6. Baguio, a city for
Ah.
souls that need to breathe.
I heard about this.
In a tropical country like the Philippines, where the sun blazes year-round and sweat comes easy,
Yep.
Finding a city with cool air, morning fog, and whispering pine trees feels like stumbling upon something rare and magical. Baguio is unlike any other place on this list. It has no beach, no international airport, but it holds something many Americans living far from home quietly long for: the feeling of being able to breathe slowly again.
Yeah.
This city sits nearly 1,500 meters above sea level. It was once chosen by Americans as the summer capital during the colonial era. And more than a century later, the old stone walls, the European-style gardens, and the crisp mountain air remain, as if time never wore down the memories it once held. Americans don't come here to retire.
Think about
They come
history
to return
when
to
it comes to that area.
In Baguio, there are retired American professors still teaching in universities, writers quietly working on books in cafes, and dual nationality artists holding exhibitions from window-lit studios overlooking the valley. Why do Americans choose Baguio? A cool, comfortable climate year-round, rare in Asia. A strong academic and art scene, with universities, writing workshops, and frequent exhibitions. Affordable cost of living, cheaper than major cities, but with all the essentials. A blended culture. The American legacy still exists, but gently, harmoniously intertwined with local identity. A retired American couple, both former high school teachers who've lived in Baguio for 12 years, once wrote in the Philippine Star, "We first came here in spring. There were flowers blooming, music playing in the city park, and the sound of children laughing in English, tinged with local accent. And we realized this is where we didn't have to retire. We could keep living the way we wanted to." Baguio doesn't overwhelm you, but it softens you. This place is for people who once ran too fast, lost their way, and now want to return to a rhythm slow enough to hear their heartbeat. Many Americans in Baguio say they found healing, not from medicine, but from nature, from space, and from the quiet, smiling neighbors around them. Baguio is not paradise, but it just might be the place that helps you believe paradise still exists.
Ah, dude, well
7.
said.
Bacolod smiles, fresh fish, and a simple life. If you've ever thought that to be happy, you need lots of money, fancy amenities, and high status, Bacolod will make you think again. Located on the island of Negros, Bacolod is a city just big enough that you won't feel alone, but still small enough that people remember your name by the third time they meet you. With around 600,000 residents, it keeps the laid-back rhythm and heartfelt charm of the countryside, even as it grows into a modern city. Americans living here are usually not rich, but they say they feel enough. You'll see uncles from
Rich in
Ohio
love, though.
carrying baskets to the morning market, women from California sipping coffee with their local landlords, and even retired engineers learning how to bake pandezel just because they can. Why?
It just feels so homey. Almost every single thing that goes on in these areas, you could feel like a very, very comfy and homey feel to all of it. It's just so incredibly wholesome, dude.
Americans choose Bacolod. Amazingly, because they can. Why do Americans choose Bacolod? Amazingly low cost of living. According to 2024 data from Numbeo, living in Bacolod is 65 to 70% cheaper than coastal cities in the U.S. Clean, well-planned city with little traffic and fresh air.
Little traffic.
Incredibly friendly, open, and kind locals. Bacolod isn't called the City of Smiles for nothing. A small but close-knit expat community that organizes charity events, cultural parties, and free English classes.
Stuff like this is
for
important,
local kids.
guys. So important.
A 74-year-old American living here once told the Negros Daily Bulletin, "My retirement money wasn't enough to live comfortably in the U.S. here. I rent a house with a garden, eat fresh fish every day, and people call me by my real name, not my social security number." Bacolod doesn't shine with neon lights, but it shines with eyes that smile. It doesn't have the biggest shopping mall, but it has neighbors who bring you rice when they hear you coughing.
Oh.
You don't need to be anybody to live here. No success required, no proving anything. just a desire to live kindly and slow down a little. Many Americans in Bacolod admit it. At first, they came because it was cheap and cheerful, but after a few years, they realized they no longer miss America. Because this place, with its honest smiles, warm meals, and unhurried pace, is enough to heal. 8. Iloilo, where tradition meets the future. If Bacolod is the friendly friend who always smiles at you, then Iloilo is the elegant neighbor, thoughtful, well-spoken, and someone you fall for without even realizing it. Once one of the most prosperous cities under Spanish rule, Iloilo today is a perfect blend of historical charm and modern city life. You might pass by a church built in the 1700s, and 3 minutes later, be sipping coffee in a Nordic-style cafe overlooking a clean, wide riverfront boulevard.
Even thinking about that is
crazy. Many Americans who live here describe Iloilo in one word: balance. You can live near the sea, but not feel isolated. You can live near the city center,
balance, bro,
without feeling swallowed up. And the special thing?
Yeah.
People here speak little, but care a lot. Why do Americans choose Iloilo? Well-planned infrastructure, fully equipped but not overwhelming.
And nothing's overdone.
From hospitals and schools to public transport. Stable cost of living. No sudden spikes like Cebu, yet not underdeveloped like distant provinces. One of the few walkable cities in the Philippines, with long, clean, and safe esplanade paths.
Esplanade.
An intellectual and cultured vibe. Many universities and research centers favored by older or more educated Americans. An American from Boston, a former financial advisor in Singapore, now living in Yarrow, once shared. I used to think Manila was the best place to live in the Philippines, but Iloilo taught me something. Sometimes the best thing isn't loud or flashy. It's just quietly enough. Iloilo is where you live simply, but not sparsely. You can have grilled fish for breakfast at a street stall, then sip wine to light jazz in a fine restaurant by evening.
Wow, dude.
You're
so
not
it's
looked at as a foreigner.
Whatever
but
style.
Greeted with a sir, good morning, Po, as if you've always belonged
good morning,
here.
Po.
This place doesn't promise a flashy tropical dream, but it gives you a grounded, peaceful, and fulfilling life. For Americans who want to step away from the fast, harsh grind, but aren't ready to disappear from the modern world,
See?
Iloilo is the softest answer.
Yeah, that sounds like an
9.
incredible place to live.
Puerto Princesa.
The
when
balance.
Slow living is nitrogen monoxide longer, just a slogan. In a world where everything is speeding up, internet speed, the race for wealth, the pace of consumption, there's a place that gently slows people down. Not because of poverty, but because they choose to. That place is Puerto Princesa, the capital of Palawan, known as the ecological capital of the Philippines. No one comes to Puerto Princesa for the malls. No one says, I want to launch a startup here. People come because they've run far enough. And now, it's time to pause.
They've run far enough.
This city isn't crowded. Just over 300,000 people, but it has everything you need for a decent life. Supermarkets, hospitals, schools, an airport, and most importantly, nature you can reach out and touch. Why do Americans choose Puerto Princesa? Pristine nature, mild climate, clean air. Perfect for those who care about their health and peace of mind. Many former backpackers, divers, and ecologists settle down here, forming a unique and deeply rooted expat community. A slow pace of life, but not limiting. There are cafes, bookstores, community events, conservation groups, and marine research stations.
I should visit all these
Affordable
places
cost
just to
of
see.
living,
Get my foot in the
if you're
door.
not chasing luxury, but just want a home near the sea and quiet mornings. A 55-year-old American, once a professional dive technician in Hawaii, shared in an interview with Palawan News. I came here with a backpack, planning to stay 10 days. Today is day 486.
Wow.
I never went back, not because I was running away, but because I found myself here. Puerto Princesa doesn't have a dazzling downtown,
Dude.
but it has untouched forests where you can walk for hours without seeing anyone. It doesn't have multi-level shopping malls, but it has morning markets full of fresh fish and vegetables.
Dude, the fresh
and
fish,
the sound
man.
of waves slipping through palm trees during your afternoon nap.
Anyone from Portugal will love
Americans
this.
don't live like long-term tourists. They build homes, adopt children, garden, and even join local cooking contests. Puerto Princesa isn't for those afraid of silence. It's for those who've once been swallowed by the noise and now want to hear their own heart again.
Wow,
10.
dude.
Cagayan de
Straight
Oro,
poetry.
where Americans choose charm over status. If Manila is where you go to level up, and Cebu is where you go to indulge, then Cagayan de Oro, or CDO, is where you can breathe easy and smile. Located in northern Mindanao, with a population of over 728,000, CDO has long been called the City of Golden Friendship, and Americans who live here wholeheartedly agree with that name. Not because it's the most modern place, not because it's the cheapest, but because it's just right. Friendly enough, full of just enough opportunity, and peaceful enough that you don't have to fight to exist.
Wow.
In CDO,
You don't have to fight to
you'll
exist,
find
man. A
American
lot of
veterans
places.
shopping at the morning market.
A lot of places you have to
Retired
do that,
teachers
man.
hiking on weekends, and freelancers working remotely from riverside homes. None of them needing to prove anything to anyone. Why do Americans choose CDO? A fast-growing economy with room for small investments, businesses, education, and IT. Genuinely warm, hospitable locals. Not
Dude.
because of profit, not forced. Affordable cost of living, yet still modern infrastructure. Malls, international hospitals, a major domestic
I wonder what the malls
airport.
actually look like there.
Nature all around. Streams, mountains, rivers, waterfalls. Perfect for those who love adventure and active living. A young American who once worked in marketing in Florida, now
Hey.
a content freelancer living in CDO,
Hold on now.
once wrote on his personal blog, "I thought I'd live in Saigon, Chiang Mai, or Bali, but I chose CDO, not because it stands out, but because I can live here gently and feel welcomed."
Wow.
CDO doesn't feel like a tourist destination.
I gotta look at all
It
these
feels
areas
like
now.
a big hometown you suddenly return to after 20 years. It's easy to make friends, easy to rent a home, easy to order food without being seen as just another Westerner. Here, you're not pushed out, you're invited in. Many Americans say it's exactly CDO's simplicity that makes them want to stay.
Yeah, people want
No
simplicity
need for
nowadays,
city
man.
lights, no need for fancy pitches, just a neighbor's smile, a cool afternoon breeze on your porch, and a life that doesn't ask too much compromise. So we've just explored 10 cities in the Philippines that are becoming second homes to thousands of Americans.
You know, in all honesty, all of these places look like places I need to consistently check out because who knows, man, in the future when I maybe most likely end up living in the Philippines, these areas are areas I need to look at. I mean, you guys should let me know which one seems more like something I should check out and which one seems less of that. But of course, let me know. I mean, are all these 10 really, really that incredible? And on top of that, you guys should let me know which one I should choose. Because I know it's up to me in all honesty, but you guys most likely probably know from personal experience as well which one is really the best. Just let me know for real. I thank you guys for linking this over, and thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Hey, if you liked it, leave a like. If you loved it, subscribe. If you want more, let me know down in the comments below. And yeah, till next time, guys. Peace.
A river runs through golden sands. Dreams are woven in fragile hands.